Hey, everybody, welcome back to episode 5 of The Stories That Shape Us, where we deep dive into the experiences that define us, the lessons that shape us, and the faith that keeps us moving forward. I am your host, Brock Doty, and today we have an incredible episode about resilience, faith, and the power of perseverance. It's a story of how one woman faced the unimaginable and emerged even stronger on the other side. Life is often unpredictable, often throwing challenges our way that we could never have prepared for. I want you to imagine this. Imagine being full of potential, living your life with energy, and then suddenly the world changes. Your body doesn't want to move the way it once did. Your mind feels like it's slipping, and every step forward seems impossible. That was Mo Christensen's reality when she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2015. Mo is Mo's journey is one of battling not only the physical aspects of MS, but the mental and emotional aspects as well, and the strength required for her to reclaim her life. From needing 2 canes to walk to eventually crossing the finish line of a half marathon. Mo's story is about more than survival. It's about rising above and choosing resilience even when the road ahead seems uncertain. So today, we'll hear about Mo's journey of struggle, perseverance, and finding a new purpose within it all. And we'll deep dive into the steps of resilience, how faith, hard work, and unshakable spirit can lead us to places we never thought were possible. So, without further ado, I'm excited to introduce today's guest, Mo Christensen. Mo, welcome to the Stories That Shape Us. How are you today?
Great. Thank you, Brock, for having me here.
I'm super excited to get into your story. I'm super jacked. I've learned a little bit about you over the last couple of days, and I'm excited to see what you have in store for us.
Thank you. It's really an honor to be here and to share.
Awesome. So let's just jump right into it. I'm going to take you back to the early life of before MS, before that became a part of your everyday story, your everyday life. What did that look like for you, Mo?
Well, if we go back really far, I've always been a little bit of a dramatic person. I love music and acting and creativity, and I was always smiling and really upbeat. I made friends really easily. And I was 20 when I was diagnosed with MS, so I was at college. I was studying exercise and wellness and psychology as well. And every day I would go to my early morning weightlifting class. I would also go to the gym right next door after the weightlifting class to get some good cardio. And then I would go to my full docket of classes for the day, and I socialized a lot. I had a lot of really good friends. Everything was looking up for me. I was really excited about my future and my potential.
Yeah, it sounds like you were just a normal 20-year-old active young adult. What were some of the things that you were passionate about? What did a normal day feel like for you? I know you kind of broke down like going to the gym and stuff, but what are some of your passions on top of that?
Well, I really love reading, so I read a lot of books. I loved playing sports with my friends. We would play spike ball, frisbee, go hiking. It was a lot of active stuff, or playing games, but mostly active things.
Where'd you go to school?
Brigham Young University.
They always have something going on BYU campus, whether it be the blue foam or going hiking up the mountains, like always something going
Yeah,
on.
yeah, it's
Awesome.
true.
And then what? What happened after that?
So, it was 2015, and like I said, I was 20 years old, and I woke up one day and I felt so weird, and I realized half of my body was numb and tingly. I was confused. It reminded me, so in high school when I was 16, I actually woke up one day and my leg was numb and tingly, and it stayed that way for 36 hours. And so I thought it was just a similar thing that would go away. But after 2 weeks, it was still there. And so at that point, I went to the doctor and said, I don't know why this is happening. It's really weird. This is the only thing that's bothering me. And so she wanted to do some tests just to make sure that it wasn't the serious stuff. And in hindsight, just a couple days before I woke up and was like that, I had really bad vertigo and I fell down and threw up every time I moved, which I now attribute to MS. But then it was just like, I have this really weird, intense bug. So we did the tests, and one of the tests was an MRI, which is a really interesting experience if you've never had one. You go into a tube, and it's inches from your face, and it squeezes in on the side, and it makes a bunch of loud, weird noises. And they strap your head in so you can't move, and you're there for like an hour. And so I did that. And a few days later, I was on campus. I had just had a class. It was sunny, and I was standing in the shade, and I got a phone call from the doctor. And she said, I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is that we know what's wrong. And the bad news is that you have over 20 lesions in your brain and have multiple sclerosis. Lesions are scars in the brain. MS is it's where your immune system attacks the covering of your nerves. Imagine like an electrical cable, the stuff that surrounds the wire. It's like your immune system is attacking that coating. And so you can have short circuits and the signal doesn't travel as well. And so MS symptoms in general, it's a lot of weird sensations. I get nauseous, dizzy, have a hard time moving well, really bad fatigue, and that's all because of that damage to the nerves. Back to my story, I got a little sidetracked with educating people. So I was diagnosed, and I was down in that sunny spot, and I called my mom because she's a nurse, and she's basically still my personal nurse that I call about everything. And I told her the doctor called and said I have MS. And she was shocked because as a nurse, she's worked with a lot of MS patients and seen the worst cases. So she was devastated. She said, they told you that over the phone? Because she was shocked that they wouldn't call me in to tell me in person. I was in shock as well. I remember feeling kind of numb and not understanding completely what it meant. Even though I was studying a health-related major, I didn't know very much about MS. So at that point, we started trying to get to a neurologist and some things like that, and we were really having a hard time. So I got put on a medication, but it didn't help. And so I slowly was going up and down, with the downs getting lower and lower and lower. Until about 6 months later, I was walking with two canes. I had double vision, so I wore an eye patch, which I switched from eye to eye to keep the muscles even. And I was really fatigued. So I did have kind of shuffled around, if you can imagine. So then one day I woke up and I had a British accent because of something called foreign language syndrome. So the nerves in my face were affected. And I thought that was the only weird thing going on. I walked to work and I was working and I couldn't remember how to do the simplest things that I had always done well. Eventually, my boss called me to her office because she actually has a mom who died from MS. So she knew a lot about the condition and recognized that something was wrong. So she sent me home and emailed my mom, and my mom sent my brothers over to help me. I basically had the mentality of a special needs girl, and I was like that for about a month. I don't really remember that month. There are flashes of things that I remember, like I remember putting a glass in the sink, but I couldn't control how fast or hard my hand moved, so it crashed into the sink and shattered. And I remember being really silly, telling a lot of jokes, trying to make people laugh. After I'd been like that for a little bit, that's when the miracle came about. People started praying for me. My church group prayed for me. A family friend sent my name to the Vatican, which is crazy. Members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints sent my name to their temples so people could pray for me there. I was on prayer lists of multiple people. So all of those prayers and that faith combined to transform my life. So I finally got in to see a good neurologist who prescribed the best medication, the most aggressive medication for me. And as soon as I went on that medication, I started to improve. But I improved mentally before I improved physically. So I came back to myself in my head, but I was still walking with two canes. I still couldn't control my arms and hands very well. I was still really tired. I would choke on my spit. So we had to elevate my bed so that I wouldn't choke on my spit in the night. I felt so discouraged because I had this beautiful life before. I had so much potential, and here I was, completely broken.
Oh, wow. Well, hey, there's miracle on the other side of this. I'm going to stop you right there real quick. I'm going to take you back to that very first moment in 2015 when you were between those two buildings on BYU campus, when you
Mhm.
first received that phone call that you were diagnosed with MS. What was going through your mind when you got that phone call? And how did it change the way that you had seen your future?
Honestly, in that moment, nothing changed with my future in my head. I just thought, this is an interesting thing, but I'm still going to stay in school and I'm still going to get married and I'm still going to be super active and it'll just be something different to deal with. But I quickly realized that wasn't true. And so it's like a slap in the face. You know, you have this vision of the life that you want and you dream of having, and then it's all taken away.
Yeah, I could only imagine the confusion, the why me, the kind of sorrow, and kind of down in the dumps that you'd feel, right? You said you were active, and MS is a disease that takes out the active, but we'll get into that later. It hasn't stopped you, but as your symptoms started progressing, what would you say was the hardest part of adjusting to that way of life?
I think the hardest part for me was seeing how it was affecting other people because it's almost like it happened so fast that I didn't really have time to decide how I felt about it. But I saw how devastated my mom was, and I saw how my friends treated me a little differently because I had two canes and talked different. It really was the hardest thing was knowing how much everyone else was suffering because of me. Because I felt like it was my fault, even though I had no control over it.
It's not your fault. No, not at all. What was the timeline from that moment you went to bed with those tingly sensation in your legs to walking with canes? What was the timeline on that? You said it progressed really fast.
Yeah, so it was within 3 months I
Wow.
started
Wow.
having to walk with canes.
I was thinking this was over a couple of years, but 3 months. That baffles me. Were there any moments where you just felt like life was slipping away from you from the way that you once knew it?
So when I woke up that day with the British accent and the special needs girl behavior, my parents ended up taking me home to live with them. When they told me I wouldn't be able to go back to school, I cried for hours. My mom finally had me call my best friend to talk to her to maybe feel better, and I just cried the whole time I was talking to her. I was very down
I
and
bet.
depressed, as you can imagine.
Yeah, there must have been days where you felt like all the weight was just completely unbearable, just on your shoulders. How about, can you share a moment where um, whether you questioned whether you could keep going and what pulled you through?
After I started getting better, like I said, I started getting better mentally first, And so I got really discouraged because I felt trapped in my body. Like everything that I had been dreaming of and hoping for was no longer possible. And I felt like there was no purpose or meaning to my life. So I prayed a lot and I finally received the answer that as long as I was helping people, then my life had meaning. At that moment, that's when I decided to start fighting again.
Absolutely. Praise
Yeah.
God. And that's something anyone can take away as long as you're helping people, whether
Yeah.
it be helping an old lady carrying groceries. Just take your eyes off yourself for a second and help somebody else. And so for many of us, faith can be a powerful anchor during difficult times. You mentioned
Mhm.
that you had prayer warriors, and I think that's absolutely beautiful. Was there a specific moment or realization that helped you shift your form from feeling defeated to eventually determined that, hey, I'm going to do this?
It really was just as I was praying, there was a moment where it was like, this is what I can do to have meaning, to have purpose. And as I started fighting, I started making the most of what I call micro moments. So I would do tiny little things in these little moments to build up health, to build up my mental state. And it took a lot of effort and patience. That's the biggest thing. People see and hear my story going from 2 canes to running a half marathon, and they don't see the tiny steps that it took to get there. And I think with stories of success, we often just see the success and that they overcame, and not how much work and patience went into it.
Absolutely. Oftentimes, when we think of resilience, people just think powering through no matter what, and then making it on the end goal. But in one of my previous episodes, I talked about laying bricks, building a strong foundation first, and then building a monument, because nothing's going to be built overnight, right? Like it takes those early mornings of getting up and going to physical therapy and walking with somebody, but making those little continuous improvements, like you said, micro moments.
Mhm.
Looking back, what would you say that something you believed about resilience that turned out to be completely false or different than what you actually experienced within your own story?
Well, I was like most people, and I just saw, oh, they went through something hard. But what matters is that they're really successful now. And I focused more on the success, but resilience is more about the journey. Oh, I think resilience is the journey, not the finish line. That is the big shift that I had in my mind.
Well, that's very true. I agree. Rebuilding your strength physically, mentally, as well as emotionally must have been a journey within itself. What did
It
that
really was.
process look like for you day in and day out? What kept you moving forward on the hard days? You said that when we were talking earlier, you ran for the first time in your parents' front yard, um,
Hmm.
and then eventually leading up to the half marathon. But what would you say that that process looked like for you to keep moving forward on the hard days?
So I've always been a runner. Through high school, I ran track and cross country. My fastest mile time, I'm just going to boast for a little bit. I got 5 minutes and 42 seconds.
That's cooking. That's cooking.
Thank you very much. So, everyone, feel excited for me. That was a long time ago. So, I've always been a runner. And as I was getting worse with MS, my brother would take me running with him. So, I had my eye patch on and I held onto his arm, and he would run with me down the sidewalk so I could keep running for as long as possible until finally I couldn't anymore. But once I started to feel better physically, my dad started taking me on runs and my mom took me on walks, and they helped me to start doing the tiny things. Oh, I forgot to mention. So the first time that I ran without my canes, it was just around the front yard of my parents' house. And I was so happy that I cried. And it was like I went from this place of darkness to once again seeing that my life could have light and things were possible for me if I worked for it.
Like you said, those micro moments, running with your brother, to eventually walking with your mom, to eventually running with your dad. Like micro moments, building those steps forward to eventually going to marathon day. What was the timeline on that when you started running or walking without your canes?
So I started walking with without my canes. It was October of 2015, and I ran the half marathon in October of 2016, actually.
A
So it
year
really
later.
was 1 year. Yeah.
Wow. Now let's talk race day. This is what I'm excited about.
Okay.
You're ready. You're getting ready to run your race with your dad. You're surrounded by all these people. What's going through your mind as you are standing at the start line of that race with your dad?
There was a lot. There was fear. I didn't know how my body was going to react. I didn't know if it would be too much stress. There was excitement because I'd always dreamed of doing this. I think those are the biggest, fear and excitement, which are almost two sides of the same coin.
Hmm. Have you ran a marathon before you were diagnosed?
No, I
Really?
hadn't. And so that was my first one. I ran one more with my husband, a half, and I someday want to run a marathon, and we'll see if it's in the cards for me.
When did you run that one with your husband?
It was a few years ago, 3 or 4. Yeah.
Let's go. That's awesome, Mo. All right, now let's take it a step further, crossing that finish line of that
Mhm.
half marathon. That's something that so many people dream of. I've never done it personally, but can you describe what that moment meant to you as you crossed the finish line?
Well, I don't know if this is how it is for everyone, but for me, I was just so happy to be done. So I was like, hallelujah, I finally made it. And I laid on the ground, and my mom poured some water on my face, and I just like flopped there for a while. And it took me a little bit to actually be able to walk again. And because so heat is, it increases your MS symptoms temporarily. And so the heat that my body produced by running increased my MS symptoms and it made it a little difficult for me to walk after. But as time has gone on since then, I've recognized what a pivotal moment that actually was to show myself that I don't have to be limited by MS. I don't have to be stopped by it. Yes, I have a different life than I imagined, but it's also a pretty good one.
Absolutely. 10 years later, coming up on 10 years. When's your 10-year anniversary?
Um, it's actually March,
Oh wow, so it already hit.
so it already hit.
Praise God. So how has your perspective on life, success, purpose, all of that changed over the last 10 years since your diagnosis?
Well, it's a major journey. I never thought that I would be able to say this, and I rolled my eyes every time someone said this, but I'm grateful for being diagnosed with MS
Why is that, Mo?
because it has changed me, transformed me into a person that I am proud of being and that I never would have become without such a difficult thing to deal with. I have more faith. I think I take care of myself better physically. I'm more patient and loving. I really understand that I need to take care of my body and my mind. Like, there are so many things that have made my life better now because I have MS.
It's a really good perspective to have. I'm going to ask you for some advice then. So for those who are struggling with their own battles, whether it's a health condition like your own
Mhm.
or another challenge they may have, what advice would you give them?
Well, first, Don't roll your eyes at what I just said. I promise you will get there. You will get to where you're grateful. And it takes some time, so don't expect it to happen overnight. Um, but the biggest advice is to take things one day at a time, one step at a time. That's the way to make a big change, is by taking it just a little at a time every day.
Okay, that leads me to my next question. What are some of your daily habits or mindsets that help you stay strong to keep moving forward day in and day out, even when it's tough?
Well, I go on a walk almost every day. I pray every day, which is really important for my mental, spiritual, and physical health. I've been focusing on protein lately, so I eat a lot of protein, which has helped me not to crave sweets as much. So everybody try that.
I don't know, I like my Oreos, Mo. Double stuffed Oreos with milk.
I'm gluten-free, but the mint gluten-free Oreos, those are good.
All right, I'm gonna have to try it out.
Please do.
Awesome. Anything else that helps you get through the tough days?
Okay, so this is where I want to share a little story that I like to share about gold. Um, this man, he went to California during the gold rush looking for a huge gold nugget, and he wasn't having success. And one day he met this other man, an old man, who had a large bag of gold. This guy wanted to see a giant nugget of gold. So he poured it in his hand, and it was just tiny little pieces of gold. It wasn't a giant nugget. So the things that get me through each day are like those tiny pieces of gold, and you sprinkle them in your day. So things like my daughter smiling at me, smelling the flowers for the first time in the spring, a warm blanket, or washing my hands with warm water and having a really good smelling soap. Like appreciating these tiny little flecks of gold in our day bring you a gold nugget of a day.
That is beautiful. What a great analogy. I love
Thank you.
that. This is my favorite question to ask people. If you could go back to 2015, 10 years ago, in March, and have a conversation with yourself right after you got that diagnosis between those two buildings on the BYU campus, what would that conversation look like?
Well, I'd probably first give myself a big hug and then say, everything's going to change, but it's going to be better. Take it one step at a time.
Literally, one step, micro moments.
Mm-hmm.
You could also relate the gold flakes to micro moments as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, use those micro moments to sprinkle the gold.
Absolutely. All right. So I know you have something exciting that you've been working on. So as you look ahead, what is next for you, Mo? What is the dream that you are pursuing and that you are chasing now?
So I'm actually starting a business to help moms that are overwhelmed, that are struggling, and it's to help them to optimize their time, optimize their health, their relationships, really get things in order so that they can sprinkle the gold and have happier lives, even if they don't have a lot of time. So, Monday, we are hosting my first challenge where we take it one day at a time and have a different focus, mindset, micro habits, self care, systems, and family connection. And we talk about each of those and apply them to our lives. And as a whole, practicing all of those, you increase your productivity, your happiness, and your quality time with your family.
Time, time is the ultimate wealth. You can have all the $1 million in the bank, but we all get 24 hours in a day. When people say time is money, I respectfully disagree with them because time is life and money is quality of life. And we all have 24 hours in the day. How are you going to spend it? So I think that's awesome. What's the name of your business, Mo?
It's called You've Got This, Mama.
And where can we find that?
So it's a school community. School is an app you can download and just search You've Got This Mama or even moms, and it'll be on the first page.
That's awesome. Anything
And
else you
that's where
want
we're
us?
gonna, oh, sorry. I was just
Go.
gonna say that's where we're gonna host the challenge.
Awesome. Do you guys have a Facebook page too?
We don't, but I have a separate Facebook page called Got This Mama. So
Cool.
that is also available for people to join.
Sweet. You heard it here, folks. Mo Christensen's launching her business Monday. Is that the 31st or the 1st?
31st.
March 31st, 2025. Awesome. So what does life look like for you today, Mo? I know you said you have two beautiful children at home as well as you're married. Why don't you talk to me a little bit about that?
Well, every day's a little bit different because having two children makes things unpredictable. But I usually wake up between 6 and 7 to a crying baby, get him some food, do all the mom things, change his diaper, help my daughter, get some breakfast. As I'm doing these things, just trying to appreciate the beauty of that stage of their life.
How old are they?
I've got a 4-year-old girl and an 11-week-old boy.
Let's go. That's beautiful. Kids are truly a blessing.
They really are. They're so cute.
I love it. I can't wait to be a dad one day. So let me ask you this. I have a couple questions left for you. If people take just one thing away from your story, what would you hope that it is?
That a diagnosis like this or an event like this is not a death sentence, it's an opportunity.
Explain that for me.
Just because something hard happens doesn't mean that your life is over. It means, well, in my opinion, it means God is ready to help you reach new heights.
God is with us through it all. Sometimes we just need to lean on Him. Mo, your journey is a truly powerful testament of perseverance. It's inspired me this last week, just getting to know you, speaking to you on the phone, to having our rough draft fail, to
Yeah.
leading us here today. But you've pushed through adversity, embracing the growth that comes right there with it. You've shown that challenges don't have to define us, but instead they can shape us into something stronger. Your story is proof that even in life's hardest moments, there's always going to be a path forward. So before we close, is there anything else on your heart that you'd like to share? Any final thoughts for those who are out there listening?
You've got this. That's all. You've got this.
Alrighty, Mo. Hey, I appreciate your time. Like I said, it's been a great week getting to know you. I'm going to say some final thoughts and then we'll get out of here, okay? Alrighty, so Mo's story is a great reminder to us all that resilience isn't just about pushing through the challenges. It's about finding the strength in the moments that seem impossible. It's about standing back up when life knocks you down, even when you don't have the energy to take that next step. C.S. Lewis has a quote out there that goes, "Hardships often prepare ordinary people for extraordinary destiny." Think about that for a moment. The struggles we face, the moments that bring us to our knees, they're often the very thing that shapes us into something greater. We may not see it in the moment, but every challenge has the potential to build something powerful within us all. Honestly, some of the strongest people I know, and the strongest people you'll ever meet, are the ones who have endured the unimaginable. Out of the suffering that has emerged, the strongest souls, the most massive characters, are seared with scars. Those scars aren't signs of weakness, but they're proof of battles that were fought and conquered. They tell the story of resilience, of refusing to let pain define you. And when everything feels like it's falling apart, it's really easy to think that where you are now is where you'll always be. But that is not true. J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter, has famously said, rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life. And I've meditated on that. And I came to the conclusion that sometimes it takes reaching the lowest points in our life to truly see what we are capable of. Because from that place, there's only one direction to go, and that's up. That's what resilience ultimately is. It's not about waiting for the perfect conditions or hoping for the storm to pass. It's about adapting, adjusting, and choosing to move forward no matter what stands in your way. Because when life storms hit, and they always will, adjust your sails and just keep moving forward. Today's conversation with Mo Christensen is a testament to the truth. Life threw obstacles her way that she had never seen coming. She didn't let that define her. Instead, she got up, found her strength, her purpose, and she kept going, even on the hard days. So if you're in the middle of a struggle right now, I want to encourage you to hold on. This chapter isn't the end of your story. It's just a part of your journey. As we journey through life, we encounter moments that shake us, challenge us, and push us beyond what we thought we were capable of enduring. It's in these very moments that we often feel lost, broken, and sometimes unsure how we'll even keep going. But here's the truth. The truth is, we need to hold on to this. The struggles we face, the suffering we endure, have the power to transform us. So, in this week's Bible verse, in Romans 5:3-4, it states, "Not only so, but we also glory in sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope." So when you're facing hardship, whether it's a health diagnosis, a career setback, a relationship struggle, or just the weight of everyday life pressing down on you, it's easy to wonder, how will you keep moving forward? But these struggles are not meaningless, and they're not just obstacles. They're opportunities for growth. Growth in the perseverance, growth in the character, and ultimately growth in the hope. This is where resilience comes in. Resilience isn't about never failing, never falling down. Resilience isn't about never falling down. It's about how you rise when you do. It's about the ability to bounce back, not just because you're invincible, but because you're willing to keep fighting, willing to keep moving forward, even when you don't feel like you have anything else to give. Resilience is the quiet strength that grows inside you as you face life's hard challenges head on. And it's built on the very foundation of perseverance. Take Mo's journey, for instance. In 2015, she was diagnosed with MS, and suddenly her life changed in ways she could never imagined. It would have been easy for her to let this illness define her and her family. It would have been very easy for her to give up, but instead, Mo made a choice. She made a choice to push through, to remain resilient in the face of a disease that has sought to take away her independence. But it hasn't. And here's where we find the power of resilience. It doesn't promise that the road ahead will be smooth or that every step will be easy. However, it does promise that you'll find the strength you need when you need it most. Just like Mo, you can build perseverance. Perseverance is the grit and determination that keeps you moving forward when the road feels long, dark, and uncertain. It's waking up every morning, even when your mind or body tells you to stay in bed or to snooze that alarm one more time. And that perseverance begins to shape your character through the tough moments, in the moments that challenge you the very most, are the ones that ultimately redefine you. Think about the people you know who have faced great adversity. They're often the most resilient, the most grounded, and the ones who've learned to live with strength and purpose. And that's the character that suffering builds. It's not just about enduring, but it's about becoming stronger through it all. And finally, from that character, hope is born. Hope isn't something that just comes from circumstances, but it comes from something that grows in us through the act of resilience. Hope is the belief that even though life can be hard, there's always a way forward. There's always a possibility of a brighter tomorrow, no matter how dark today may seem. Mo's story is a powerful reminder that resilience isn't about pushing through the challenges with a perfect smile or pretending that everything is hunky-dory or that everything's okay. It's about the strength to keep moving forward, one step at a time. She crossed that finish line one step at a time with those micro moments, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually as well. Mo's resilience has become a beacon of hope for others around her, showing her that they can overcome their struggles too. And if they embrace the life that they're meant to live, then they can do it. But Mo's story is not just unique to her. It's a reflection of what each of us are capable of. No matter what you're facing right now, whether it's a personal struggle, a setback at work, a moment of doubt, I want you to know that your resilience will carry you through. Your perseverance will build your character, and your character will fuel your hope. It's not about never failing or never falling. It's about how you rise after each fall and how you keep going even when you feel exhausted. So remember, Romans 5, 3 through 4, the next time you face hardship. Know that your suffering isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your transformation because you're building resilience to persevere into the character to withstand and hope to keep moving forward. Keep going, keep rising because you are stronger than you realize. So as we wrap up today's powerful conversation with Mo Christensen, I want to leave you with something that stood out to me during our talk today. And that's that resilience isn't about being perfect or always feeling strong. It's not about always pretending that the pain doesn't exist or pushing through with a fake smile. Resilience, it's about showing up day after day, even when it feels tough. It's about taking one small step at a time, even when you're stuck in a place you never wanted to be. It's about allowing your struggles to transform you, refine you, and build hope for the future. I'm here to remind you that your challenges are not the end of your story, but they are the very foundation of your transformation. Because this story today that we learned from Mo, it's a testament to the strength and resilience that is untapped within us all. And I hope that it inspires you to keep moving forward no matter what challenges you may be facing. Because remember, suffering can build perseverance, perseverance builds character, and character gives birth to hope. And if you ever are in a place where you find yourself distant from hope, I want you to know it is still there. It's waiting to emerge through your resilience and determination. You have everything within you to rise, just like Mo did, and make it through anything that life throws your way. So again, I want to thank Mo for sharing her incredible journey with us today. Her strength, faith, and courage are a beacon of hope for anyone going through their own struggles. If you're feeling inspired by her story, I encourage you to reach out to me and maybe I can get you guys connected. Or follow her Facebook page, download the school app, get involved, and support Mo in her journey. But before we close out today, I want to give you a quick preview of next week's episode. We'll be diving into a completely different inspiring journey. The story of a 10-year Army vet from the 82nd Airborne who played a pivotal role in the battle to liberate Mosul, a city in northern Iraq from the ISIS terrorist organization. But his mission didn't end there. His journey is one of courage, transformation, and unwavering dedication. After the military, he turned his focus into mentoring youth and helping them find direction in life. Now he's guiding disabled veterans through the healing power of the great outdoors up in Montana, developing them to rediscover their purpose and belonging in this world. His story is raw, inspiring, and filled with so many unexpected turns, you won't want to miss it. So tune in next week and hear how he's changing lives. Next week's episode is one you're not going to want to miss. So, thank you for tuning in to the stories that shape us. I hope today's episode has given you motivation to keep moving forward. And if you haven't, make sure that you subscribe so you never miss an episode. If today's conversation resonated with you, share it with a friend who might need a little encouragement. But until next time, I want to encourage you to stay resilient, stay hopeful, and keep embracing the journey. This has been The Stories That Shape Us, where we hear real stories, real growth, and real impact. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.